Krishna book, chapter 43rd. The killing of the elephant, Kuvalayāpīḍa. As you've noticed, we have these kind of titles, pretty regularly. When Krishna is killing demons, there are two things that Krishna does. He kills the demons and he brings the eternal life to his devotees. Actually, in the end, the demons, they also get this eternal life. Devotee or non-devotee is eternal, but the direction of their life is different. If there would be an end with the end of the body, physical body, then there would be no sense of having the Vedic literature at all. In Bhagavad Gita, there's a discussion on why Arjuna was upset, and Krishna is saying, minimum you will get to the heavenly planets. There is no need to be sad. Even if you think that you live one time, there is no problem. If I am eternal, then I need to know where I'm going to. I need to know what life is. I need to know where to go and why am I so situated in these conditions. I might like it, I might not like it. I need to know why. So there should be an understanding of Sat, eternity. It's the beginning. The one who accepts Sat, eternity, then he lives. The other, if he doesn't understand it, then, or if he does not accept it, then it would be a no-brainer. There would be no sense in life. Because there is no sense in life, people are engaged in the sex life and taking intoxications because they think that life has no sense. Why are they doing it? Because their senses forcing them to. They cannot conquer this battle with the tongue, the stomach and genitals. They cannot escape these needs. When I've just started to chant Hare Krishna mantra, and I've asked one person, an old guy who was working with me, and I said, you always discussing these things, how much you make, and he's like, no, the lives is not about these topics, but at the same time we cannot escape this, so we think about it. So we have to think about these topics all our lifetime, and we have no time to think about anything else. And even when we start to think about something else, we have no clue, because no scientists really talking about other things than this. They have no idea. And here, when we open Vedic literature, we read about the structure of the world, the whole universe structure, and we learn how to deal with this whole universe, and Vedic science is about it. We're spending a short time here, and we're gonna go somewhere else. Gonna live on some other planet in this universe. Every planet is habited, and there is also a way of liberation is given in the Vedic literature as well. There is information about God, the Creator. Otherwise, our life has no sense, and it's only God who directs us through the forces of nature or directly. And this book is giving us the description of the personality, the supreme personality of Godhead. Not through Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga or Karma Yoga it can be understood. Unless someone is engaged in devotional service, he will not get the idea. So here we will see how the Lord is killing the elephant, Kuvalayāpīḍa. And does it make any sense for the Lord to descend on this planet to kill some kind of an elephant? But if we get this meaning, then we'll be able to bring this knowledge into our life. After taking baths and finishing all other morning duties, Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma could hear the beating of the kettledrums in the wrestling arena. Previously, they got into Mathura, Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma, and there was a description of how the inhabitants of Mathura been inviting and welcoming them. They've been reading about them, they've heard about them, and now they're here. And Krishna was entertaining himself by killing one demon and making a couple of friends and visiting some of the devotees. And he was dressing himself up in different clothes. The tailor made him a gift. And then Krishna and Balarāma, they went to this sacrificial arena, and there was a bow, and Krishna broke it. So that bow was like a size of a few palm trees. And Kamsa was worshipping it and getting his power from it. And Krishna, he broke it. And by hearing the sound of breaking bow, Kamsa understood that it's a warning sign. So afterwards, Krishna left that place, Mathura, and he spent his night with Nanda Maharaj among those his friends. In the morning, he heard this drum beating, that everybody was invited to the arena, and Krishna came there to take the fight with those wrestlers. Great wrestlers. Kamsa invited the most famous ones. All the fighting arts we know right now, they come from this Vedic culture. Yutsava is the Sanskrit word for fighting, or jiu-jitsu. And then there were many deviations and branches. That's what kshatriyas and fighters, they do. Or they make a show. Like professional fighters, they're more like shudras. And real kshatriyas, they just fight for the right thing. They immediately prepared themselves to proceed to the spot to see the fun. When Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma reached the gate of the wrestling arena, they saw a big elephant of the name Kuvalayāpīḍa being tended by a caretaker riding on its head. The caretaker was deliberately blocking their entrance by keeping the elephant in front of the gate. That was the plan of the Kamsa. It was a great, gigantic elephant, fighting elephant. They used to use those elephants in order to fight. So it was a plan to block the gateway. And Krishna knew what to do. He was just a teenager then. So Krishna was saying, "You miscreant caretaker, give way and let me pass through the gate. If you block my way, I shall send you and your elephant to the house of death, personified." There is a house of death. There is such a place. It's not, you don't get there automatically. When you get a new body, you walk through this kingdom of death. It's really hard to go into the details and to understand all that. We only say that there is such a place. The caretaker, being thus insulted by Krishna, became very angry, and in order to challenge Krishna, as was previously planned, he provoked the elephant to attack. The elephant then moved before Krishna like inevitable death. It rushed toward him and tried to catch him with its trunk. But Krishna very dexterously moved behind the elephant. The elephant was big and Krishna is small. And they say there is an elephant and there's a lion, and lion is much smaller than the elephant. But at the same time, a lion can win. Sometimes the elephant runs away from the lion and he hides himself in the cave. He just puts his head into the cave and he thinks that he's there already. And Hari is being compared to the lion. So the elephant, he's short-sighted. He won't be able to see anything further than his trunk. The elephant then moved before Krishna like an inevitable death. Being able to see only to the end of its trunk, the elephant could not see Krishna hiding behind its legs, but it tried to capture him with its trunk. Krishna again very quickly escaped capture. And he again ran behind the elephant and caught its tail, holding the elephant by its tail. I see that you cannot imagine it, because if you would imagine this scene, how one is carrying the elephant by its tail, you would just laugh. It's so hilarious. You need to imagine yourself, picture yourself how that elephant would look. Holding the elephant by its tail, Krishna began to pull it, and with very great strength he dragged it for at least 25 yards, just as Garuda dragged an insignificant snake. Krishna pulled the elephant from this side to that. Krishna used to pull some calves by the tails. He did the same with the elephant. After this, Krishna went in front of the elephant and gave it a strong slap. He then slipped away from the elephant's view and ran to its back. Then, falling down on the ground, Krishna placed himself in front of the elephant's two legs and caused it to trip and fall. It was a dangerous move. Krishna immediately got up, but the elephant, thinking that he was still lying down, tried to push an ivory tusk through the body of Krishna, for forcibly stabbing into the ground. But Krishna was gone by that time. And an elephant is like, he acting pretty stupid. It's useless to fight Krishna. Try to imagine yourself being an elephant. Imagine yourself being an elephant and being so dangerous and so big. But now that you don't understand why you're being dragged by the tail or falling down on your knees, you cannot even understand. You have no clue, because you're so proud. You're an elephant. You're like a rock. You're like a mountain, and someone who is invisible to you is pulling you and dragging you back and forth. So his false ego is being destroyed, and Krishna is just playing with you, and your false ego is being destroyed gradually. So, and Hari is the one who is stealing your false ego, because he is all good. So the elephant is gradually becoming into an innocent living entity that he doesn't even understand who he is. Who is he? An elephant or someone else? When the elephant and the caretaker fell, Krishna jumped up on the elephant, broke off one of its tusks, and with it killed the elephant and the caretaker also. After killing the elephant, Krishna took the ivory tusk of on his shoulder. So he was playing for a little while, because Krishna he likes to be pleased. But he was not only dealing with the body, he was dealing with the soul as well of that creature. We can think about it for some time. Why was he doing it like this or like that? And some acharyas been studying it, because Krishna will never do anything just for its sake. Decorated with drops of perspiration and sprinkled with the blood of the elephant, he looked very beautiful, and thus he proceeded toward the wrestling arena. Lord Balaram took the other tusk of the elephant on his shoulder. Accompanied by their cohort boyfriends, they entered the arena. That was the scene, how they appeared. They were stained with blood and they were covered with the perspiration, and they were very beautiful. That's how they showed up on the fighting arena. When Krishna entered the wrestling arena with Balaram and their friends, he appeared differently to different people according to their different relationship and rasas with him. Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasures and all kinds of rasas, both favorable and unfavorable. There are many different rasas. There are some pure rasa and rasa bhas, some twisted rasa. And pure rasa, unalloyed devotional service, is the pure rasa. Neutrality is also there. We can add it there in theory, but practically it's hard to find it there because service is action. So, and rasa can develop itself, can grow, starting from one stage and go into another one, to friendship and to parental rasa. When there is when you have a wish to fulfill all the wishes or dreams of Krishna, of your child, as your child. So dasya rasa, the service rasa, and parental rasa might grow further towards the relationship as husband and wife. So no one can really understand from that point of view whether it's friendship or parental rasa or care. So it's really, really hard to understand. Those are unalloyed devotional service, pure rasas. And twisted rasas would be like when the service, unalloyed service, would be mixed with some bodily concepts. When a person thinks, Prabhupada was saying, when a person thinks, I would like to be friends with Krishna, or to be in parental rasa, but I am in the old body, so that would be rasa bhas. It's not pure. When a person thinks that his body is his material body would determine his rasa, his spiritual activity, it does not define it. So all those who've been gathering at that place, they perceived Krishna differently because of their rasa. To the people in general, he appeared as most beautiful personality. To the females, he appeared to be the most attractive male, Cupid personified, and thus he increased their lust. So women got in love with him. And cowherd men who were present there, looking upon Krishna as their own kinsman, coming from the same village of Vrindavana, the impious Kshatriya kings who were present saw him as the strongest ruler and their chastiser. To the parents of Krishna, Nanda and Yashoda, he appeared to be the most loving child. Ugrasena was the king, but at the same time, Krishna was the ruler. Shakuni and Duryodhana, they knew that Krishna is almighty, that they knew that they could win the battle if Pandavas would be separated from Krishna. Thus, kings, they saw him as very strong, the strongest ruler. To the parents of Krishna, Nanda and Yashoda, he appeared to be the most loving child. To Kamsa, the king of the Bhoja dynasty, he appeared to be death personified. You see that he was seen from different angles. Kamsa, he saw his death personified, and kings, they could see a strong ruler, and they've been frightened a bit because a ruler can judge another ruler. Someone saw him as his friend, his close friend from Vrindavan, and they were saying like Haribo Krishna, and all women, they fell in love with him. And yogis and mystics, they saw Paramatma, him personified Paramatma, the super soul. To the intelligent, he appeared to be an incapable personality. To the yogis present, he appeared to be the super soul. To the members of the Vrishni dynasty, he appeared to be the most celebrated descendant. Thus, appreciated differently by different kinds of people present, Krishna entered the wrestling arena with Balarāma and his cowherd boyfriends. Having heard that Krishna had already killed the elephant Kuvalayāpīḍa, Kamsa knew beyond doubt that Krishna was formidable. He thus became very much afraid of him. Krishna and Balarāma had long arms. They were beautifully dressed and they were attractive to all the people assembled there. They were dressed as if they were going to act on dramatic stage, and they drew the attention of the people. They were dressed up like dancers. Maybe they had some rings with the stones and gems, and but there's appearance. The citizens of Mathura city, who saw Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became very much pleased and began to look on his face with insatiable glances, and as if they were drinking the nectar of heaven. Seeing Krishna gave them so much pleasure that it appeared as if they were not only drinking the nectar of seeing his face, but also smelling the aroma. All the senses can be awakened by seeing Krishna. Every day we can feel something in this devotional service through the prasadam, when we take the prasadam, or through the altar when we perceive deities. They began to talk among themselves about the two transcendental brothers. For a long time they had heard of the beauty and activities of Krishna and Balarāma, but now they were personally seeing them face to face. They thought that Krishna and Balarāma were two plenary incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, who had appeared in Vrindavan. That's what they see in Vaikuntha. The citizens of Mathura began to recite Krishna's pastimes, his birth as the son of Vasudeva, his being taken into care of Nanda Maharaja and his wife in Gokula, and all those events leading to his coming to Mathura to favor them. They spoke of the killing of the demon Putana as well as the killing of Trinavarta, who came as the whirlwind. They also recalled the deliverance of the twin brothers from within the Yamala Arjuna trees. The citizens of Mathura spoke among themselves. Sankachuda, Kesha, Dhinukasura, and many other demons were killed by Krishna and Balarāma in Vrindavan. Krishna also saved all the cowherd men of Vrindavan from the devastating fire. He chastised the Kaliya snake in the water of the Yamuna, and he curbed the false pride of the heavenly king Indra. Krishna held up the great Govardhan hill in one hand for 7 continuous days and saved all the people of Gokula from incessant rain, hurricane, and hailstorm. Those inhabitants of Mathura, they've heard about it. They also began to remember other enlivening activities. The damsels of Vrindavana were so much pleased by seeing Krishna's beauty and participating in his activities that they forgot the troubles of material existence. The inhabitants of Mathura, they also have been talking about the Yadu dynasty. By seeing Krishna and thinking of him, they forgot all sorts of fatigue. The Mathura citizens discussed the dynasty of Yadu, saying that because of Krishna's appearance in the dynasty, the Yadu would remain the most celebrated family in the whole universe. They were saying, Krishna, if you wouldn't come into this dynasty, we would feel strangers to each other, because we would fight for the power, and all the dynasty would be separated. This is what is happening nowadays with the whole world. But as soon as Krishna is there, we see that everybody's being as one family. While they were thus talking about the activities of Krishna and Balarāma, they heard the vibrations of different bands announcing the wrestling match. So there was a lot of noise, and Krishna and Balarāma came on the arena, and the smells, everything being changed. And the band started to play, making this announcement that they're there about wrestling match, not about Krishna. The famous wrestler Chanura then began to talk with Krishna and Balarāma. My dear Krishna and Balarāma, he said, we have heard about your past activities. You are great heroes, and therefore the king has called you. We have heard that your arms are very strong. The king and all the people present here desire to see a display of your wrestling abilities. A citizen should be obedient and please the mind of the ruling king. Acting in that way, the citizen attain all kinds of good fortune. One who does not care to act obediently is made unhappy because of the king's anger. You are cowherd boys, and we have heard that while tending your cows in the forest, you enjoy wrestling with each other. So there was Chanura, and everybody knew him, and he was appreciated. He was skillful with all sorts of weapons, and he was very strong. And he was saying that we've heard that you've been fighting and wrestling in Vrindavana forest, so the king called for you here because he wanted to enjoy seeing you fight. And he also invited us, great and famous fighters, to have this show. Krishna immediately understood the purpose of Chanura's statements, and he prepared to wrestle with him. Chanura was not a devotee of Krishna, he was a devotee of Kamsa. And amazingly that in Mathura he sees Krishna and he wants to satisfy Kamsa's will, getting into fight with Krishna. Sometimes we want to serve Krishna or do something in Krishna consciousness in order to satisfy someone else. But according to the time and circumstances, he spoke as follows: you are a subject of the king of the Bhojas, and you live in the jungle. We are also indirectly his subjects, and we try to please him as far as possible. This offer of wrestling is a great favor of his, but the fact is that we are simply boys. Back at that time, Krishna was about 15 years old or something. We are simply boys. We sometimes play in the forest of Vrindavana with our friends who are our own age. We think that to combat persons of equal age and strength is good for us, but to fight great wrestlers like you would not be good for the audience. It would contradict their religious principles. We should understand it from different perspectives, because it's Sanskrit. The direct meaning is here. He is saying we are only children and you are much stronger. We just do our kids fight and wrestlings. But here, because we will not be equal, it might contradict the viewers' religious principles. It would be against the principles of religion if I fight you here. There is another meaning like this. Krishna thus indicated that the celebrated strong wrestlers should not challenge Krishna and Balarāma to fight. In reply to this, Chanura said, "My dear Krishna, we can understand very well that you are neither a child nor a young man. You are transcendental to everyone. It is your big brother Balarāma. As is your big brother Balarāma. You have already killed the elephant Kuvalayāpīḍa, who was capable of fighting thousands of other elephants. You have killed him in a wonderful way. Because of your strength, it behoves you to compete with the strongest wrestlers among us. I therefore wish to wrestle with you, and your elder brother Balarāma will wrestle with Mushtika." We see that Chanura, he understands the might of Krishna, and they are honored to do it. And they're ready, because they're fighters. They're ready to die. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 43rd chapter of Krishna, the killing of the elephant Kuvalayāpīḍa. So this episode is not being mixed with another lila, which is being told in chapter 44, the killing of Kamsa. Krishna was killing so many till now. He just killed an elephant and he started with the putana. Every day he was killing someone. And there is a chapter for every killing. That's the Krishna consciousness. When Krishna is coming to material world, he's saying Paritranaya sadhunam, I am protecting my devotees and I am killing the demons. This is the law. We're not going to read from the 44th chapter today. It's going to be separate. Do we have any questions? They say that the source of happiness is the soul inside of us. But the real source of happiness is Krishna. Where's the real source? The real source is not in the soul nor in Krishna if we separate these things from each other. The source is the relationship with Krishna. Don't separate these two things. If you know your soul, it doesn't mean anything. Someone might think, oh, this is so great to know it, but no, it means nothing. You're still in this risky area because you have no relationship with God, and you'll fall into material world again. So just knowing your soul doesn't make you any happy. Vyasadeva was describing all these things in Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra and 4 Vedas and Puranas. It was perfect. And then Narada, his Guru Maharaj, gave him the reason why he was unhappy, because he was saying, you're perceiving your soul with your fine intelligence, fine mind. This is a spiritual consciousness, but still it's material. While if you are not connected with Krishna, but with your mind, you will not be happy. And when you're connected with Krishna, connected to Krishna, then you're deeply happy. So unless you have this relationship with Krishna, you will not be happy. You would just think it's some Indian god and I'm French or Indian or American. So there are two things we need to understand, that I am the soul and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and I'm his servant. And this is the beginning of relationship. When we get so satisfying our senses would lead to destruction of the false ego. No. It would lead to some in some sort of a way we can say it, but it will not be complete destruction of the. It will be just a person would be upset. This is all material energy. It brings some grief into our heart, but it does not destroy our false ego. False ego needs to be rejected by a living entity, and it could be only done in knowledge, by means of science and knowledge. you need to pay attention that we study it and someone is telling it to us, but till we are holding to it ourselves, we cannot get away from it. Which qualities? The question is not very clear. What is the compare? What do you compare? Why are these leelas of Krishna fighting the demons is having higher priority than his peaceful leelas? I don't understand why do they put the question like this. That Krishna is dancing with gopis and not dancing anywhere but in Vrindavan doesn't mean that it's a priority to something else. We should understand that priority is the Vrindavan Leela, and what Krishna does being away from Vrindavan is not in priority. That could be the meaning of the question. Is that correct? Well, actually, yes, because there were many more activities connected with the demons in there, because there were many demons. Another question, when you don't have the taste for chanting Hare Krishna, what is the insulting chanting? What is the insulting chanting? Like when you insist on chanting. Well, you can ask some other questions, like why they've been pulling the elephant by its tail. Don't you wonder to know it? They say that death is purifying oneself, and does it purify everyone? Death is given more clearance, more understanding. When a person couldn't understand a certain thing during his lifetime, in the end of his life, one might understand it. Like Lenin, before he was dying, he was saying "I'm sorry" to his table and chairs. All those great atheists, there's death been described, how they took the death. They all been sorry. Walter, he was asking to destroy all his books. He could feel this his works torturing him. Everybody was saying sorry, because in the time of death, it's always sudden. It comes suddenly, and at the time, everybody is seeing clear. Picture is very clear. And people feel shvasa or vairagya. Shavasana, this pose of the corpse, lion corpse. So there's a renunciation. Every time we visit the cemetery, we think of some renunciation. But then you leave and you live your life, continue to live your life. But when the death comes, you say, oh, how soon? Is it over? But I didn't even learn anything. And now I don't have any time. And the person understands that he's losing everything. He is turning into a helpless child. Not everyone, only the sinners, the great demons. Like Shishupala, he was born with this inborn hatred for Krishna. He wanted to destroy Krishna, and he wanted to destroy him in next life. But those are great demons. Ordinary people, they just feel this grief and they feel helpless as a helpless child. Just like when there is someone who is sinking and he is ready to hold a straw, even hold by the straw, just to be delivered. This is talking about the death, and people can get through it differently. Just like there is a mother cat and a baby cat. So mother's mouth for a baby cat is like home sweet home, but the same mouth for the mouse would be a very dangerous thing. Why the bodies, mummified bodies of the monks in the caves, they are not decomposed? Yeah, those saints, their bodies do not decompose because it's really hard. Yeah, it is true that it's the fact, but who can explain it? I cannot. Just like Rishabhadev Maharaj, he was rolling in his stool and defecation in his urine, and at the same time the smell, the odor of his transcendental body, and this was like a perfume spreading all around. And it's not only about the devotees of the Lord concerned. The yogis and mystics, they can do it. Their bodies also can be mummified just like that, without decomposing. Those guys who achieve nirvana, they also achieve this state. It's a certain state of purity. Just like one yogi, he was in samadhi, sitting there in the cave, and those who found his body was actually looking fresh, and those who found it, they became healed by this influence. But devotees, they sometimes do bad things, but because they're engaged in devotional service and they continue to serve the Lord, they're being recognized as a devotee. Lord Chaitanya was saying anyone who is chanting the holy name is considered to be a devotee. But there's a certain stage that the bodies, they are not decomposed. It probably nature is made it like this. So those samadhis remain on the earth. Just like Madhavacharya, he's sitting there. It's not a murti, artificial murti. It's himself. He's there. And there's a sandal wood paste on top of the skin, and one of the pujari is cutting his nails. He's all covered with the sandalwood paste. Ramanujacharya, he's still there. Madhavacharya, he disappeared under the pile of sand that came from the sky. Narottam Das Thakur, he disappeared in Ganga. His body turned into milk. And now it's stored in there at the temple where he was worshipping his deities. Some saints, they disappeared in the deities, like Mirabai or Lord Chaitanya. But Krishna is saying it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how we leave this place. It's all in the hands of God. You were saying that it is very important to meditate on why Krishna is coming and why he's having these leelas. So, would it be enough to just hear about it? Why? It is enough, because there are 9 processes of bhakti, and Shravanam and Kirtanam, and that's what we do. We do everything just in order to hear about Krishna and talk about Krishna. The main things are like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, etc., etc. It would be enough just to listen. But for us, because we have some anarthas, it might not be enough. We don't want to listen to for such a long time. We have some responsibilities, some children, and we need to make food. We have a lot of stuff, and we engage ourselves in those things in order to serve Krishna as well, and it helps to listen. If a devotee is performing all his duties and he's not serving the Lord, then it's just a karmic activity. Immediately it becomes a karmic activity. You were saying about false ego, when Krishna was playing with an elephant, and you were saying that it was also like a relationship with him, that he was destroying his false ego. We should not pull anyone by its tail. Only Krishna can do it. But sometimes destiny can may pull us back and forth, and we start to think, who am I? Because every time we gain some success and everything, we say, I'm stable, I've succeeded, and I become developing. I develop this understanding that I'm pretty powerful. Like those guys who have good cars and they have a lot of money and they walk around very powerfully looking, and then a virus would come and tell him that you're not different from anyone else. You can die very easily. So, but people, they think they can find some vaccine. They think they get the protection, but people are dying. Many people are dying now, and they say, no, don't worry. You're being protected. We're working for you. The vaccine is there. We're gonna build a lot of hospitals. We're building a lot of hospitals. You're gonna die in the hospital. So they're looking for material solution. But now we're talking about, it's also good, but we need to help people, and politicians, they need to help people as well. That's good. But now we're talking about the consciousness. The solution is not there in the material solutions. The main thing is to purify a person from the false self-identification. It would be great if the smartest scientists would figure it out, because they're very stubborn, like asses. Their self-identification making them act like an ass. Why don't they accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead? It was like that always. You cannot live a civilized life if there is no God. There will be no morality, no purity. Only Rakshasas would be around. You can say to any child, and it would take like 5 minutes for him to understand. But those rulers, they don't understand. That's why they're being dragged off their thrones, like in the 1917, and there were many wars, because those people are very, very stupid in the spiritual understanding. In the material understanding, they're like very powerful and knowledgeable, but they're really fallen from the spiritual perspective. They would like to give some education to people, they would like to protect them, but because they are fallen, because they are not addressing the Lord, they will not be able to deliver people. They won't be able to deliver themselves even. If there is someone who is materialistically set, how his soul is going through the death. Once Prabhupada pointed out to a person who was in coma. Can't remember the details, but he said, no one knows how much suffer he has right now when he's in a coma. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that Ajamila, what he was going through at the moment of death, he was so scared because he saw Yamadutas. There are no ordinary materialists. When you say materialists, you mean sinful person. So the experience will be not good. He will not be happy, smiling, and he will not be peaceful. He will be very scared. That's the problem. There is no death, but there is a fear of death. If you get rid of fear of death, then you will be able to see that the soul is not dying. The fear is the huge obstacle. So an ordinary sinful person would go through this fear. It could be some suffocation or high temperature and some losing the sense or burning pain. In some places it is being described, and sometimes people are explaining it, doctors explain it, and we can just see it a little bit, but nobody came back. For us, because we've been studying it, like there's a description in Garuda Purana, it is giving us the description how the soul is leaving the body and where it is telling us about the directions where it might go. That experience we know. In many traditions, there are many different lords of death. How can we see it as different personalities or the same person? No, it's under Yamaraja, under Yamaraja's ruling. It might be death might be in the shape of an old man or a seductive girl, a woman. That's why in different cultures there would be different attitude to death, and many different religions also have a different vision of death. In the Western religion, they say it's a woman under the black hood with this tool like an axe, with the pale face or with no face. In some places, death is considered to be liberation from pain, and that there would be some visions like white light, bright light. And Shastra is also stating that there is a bright light at the moment of death. And there is also some statements that consciousness might decompose into and getting into different living entities, like the grass and plants. Like the Buddhists, they're talking about it. And some say that there's darkness. There's absolute darkness that you cannot see anything. That's death. So many different understanding of it. Just like there are many views on life, there are many views on death. Something is happening to me, and I think, is it karma or Krishna is teaching me? If I take it as a lesson, then it's Krishna, and then it would mean that I'm being liberated. Yes, you've answered it right. If you're a devotee, then you need to take it as Krishna's lesson. That's how devotees they see. Where do we take this feeling of possession, of being a proprietor? It comes from the contaminated heart. Ahankara is being placed deep in the contaminated heart. Ahankara means I am the one. I am the enjoyer. I am the proprietor. It means I need to have some resources, human resources, financial resources, and that way you would feel yourself enjoyer or proprietor. The ahankara is growing wider and wider. The more power I have, the wider my ahankara is. That's why they're considered to be big man. Even though he lives the way everybody does, like an animal, but he thinks that he's different. That's the ahankara. How do we decently deal to the bodily changes, the old age? Decently, you don't really need to look in the mirror very much to pay attention to yourself. Like, oh, I need to stretch my skin and change the way I look and hide something. Don't look into a mirror and don't pay attention to it. If a person is very beautiful or pretty, then it is very hard for him to take his beauty going away. There are some people who are afraid of the old age, and they put a lot of makeup on them. They make some haircuts, and they become in a mannequin. They become in a walking corpse. No, you need to act naturally. You see one type of beauty off, and you meet in another type of beauty. A mirror is the gift of Lucifer, in the Christian tradition. It's a gift of Satan. The reason why? So a person would never be left alone. Otherwise, he would think about the meaning of life. When he sees the reflection in the mirror, then you don't think of the meaning of life. And my reflection in the mirror is the powerful thing. The mirror is demanding us to act a certain way. We study ourselves, study our muscles moving, so we look better on public. Anywhere you go, you would see mirrors everywhere. Everybody is trying to enjoy themselves staring in the mirror. Brahmachari, they're forbidden to have any types of mirrors. They only have a tiny little one to put the tilak on. They understand that they're the soul, not the body. Don't think about your body. Of course, for women, it is not recommended. Only in the end of their life, when there is no hair or no teeth, and the chin is on the chest, then you can get rid of the mirror. But while a woman is young, then it's not practical. So live your regular life. I'm not getting into that. It's better to laugh than make a tragedy of it. Oh, we're getting old. It's okay. Rest in peace. There is another problem that people have. They say, how am I looking when I'm dying? And there is one scientist in the Roman Empire. He came to study the Caesar at the moment of death, and he saw that the emperor, he was lying in a very nice way. When I saw once I saw a guy who fell from the 8th floor, and he was lying there, and he was very accurately lying, very nice. And I realized that when he was falling, he thought, I need to carry my face, that way I'm still looking good. It's better to chant Hare Krishna, right? He needed to chant Hare Krishna as well. It's just a moment, Guru Maharaj. How is it possible? You have only one moment. But yes, but in these circumstances, a moment is enough for you. Usually when you fall from such heights, you die of fear. No, not everyone is dying from fear. Not everybody is so afraid of fear. You need to fall from very high place. 9th floor is not such a high place. There were many cases that people have been falling off the plane and survived. But there were such people who would stumble on the steps and would just break his neck. And some people, they would just fall from a very, very high place and they would just stay alive. The principle is you need to think of Krishna, train your memory, so you could still remember Krishna at the moment of death. The real memory isn't going away even at the moment of death. Everything else is crumbled. And then you're trying to save yourself, holding by the straw. Do we have any other questions? Super question. What is the correct way of chanting the holy name of the Lord? What should we think about at the moment and not think? You need to study the sound when you chant the holy name. Some devotees, they try different approaches, but my recommendation is, for the majority, is to study the vibration, the sound. How can you study it? How can you study the water? You can touch it. You can try it. What's the temperature of it? You can wash your body with it. You can see it from many different angles. So the sound, try to hear the sound non-stop. Try to merge your mind into it. Submerge your mind into it. Just the vibration. Try to hear it inside. When you chant the mantra, try to feel it. Where is it coming from? Is it in there or in here, in the chest or in the head? Try to study the sound just for the start. The way you chant, what is happening while you're chanting. Just get used to it and find this sound inside of you then. It's already on your tongue. You can do it automatically, non-stop, and you can even get used to it. But with the time, you need to learn how to live with this sound, with this vibration. There is a rough example. If you're like doing some gymnastics and you skipped one day and you feel awkward, or like if you skipped cleaning your teeth for a day, or getting new clothes, fresh clothes, then you feel not so good. So you need to study yourself. Study this vibration, transcendental vibration. Srila Prabhupada was saying this is a transcendental vibration. He was not talking about Radha and Krishna. He's saying this is transcendental vibration. You need to study it. The purifying power of it. When you study it well, you will have a chance to understand some of the deeds, some of the leelas of Krishna. Don't try to see Krishna and his leelas at the very beginning. It's good with the time, but if you're not feeling this vibration inside of you, you will not be able to get this real picture of Krishna. The things we are reading from Krishna book, it is real. It is real till now. Thanks to vibration, you can understand it. Then you will be in Krishna consciousness, thanks to this vibration. You can be perceived as a Brahman or Paramatma or Bhagavan, your personal relationship with Krishna. unique, this unique thing that attach us to this mantra. And this mantra is revealing all the aspects. But at first we need to study the sound, the vibration. I don't know how is it clear that these explanations, but yes. Could you please sign a few Bhagavad Gitas for the distribution? How is it going? The distribution, have you distributed 1,000 books already? No, just 7,000? No, you can actually do much more if you want to. There will be a time when you will be distributing millions of books. You have so many followers. There is a devotee, his name is Chaitanya Chandra from Brazil. His guru asked him to spread 1 million books, and he already spread it 700,000. So he's getting close to this number just by himself on the street. Is everybody agree to this? 1 million books we need to distribute. Just bit by bit, everyone can make this. Boris Grebenshchikov is spreading his Bhagavad Gita. He made the translation, and he's spreading it among the musicians. You see how many people now in Russia they writing this commentary to Bhagavad Gita. This guy, he was singing his songs about Bhagavad Gita, and Vysotsky was also writing his songs about it. But we are reading from Prabhupada's books. Maybe for some stars and musicians, those Bhagavad Gitas would be okay. But for us, we need something less complicated. So we read from Srila Prabhupada. We are not great. Nowadays, Grebenshchikov and Vladimir Kuzmin is serving the Lord. Like he was playing Damodar Ashtaka, and he is connecting his life with serving Krishna. He's a big star. Everybody knows him. And these great guys, they accept the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. It is influencing the Bhagama. They understand this is a progress, a big progress for them. Whatever great person does, everybody else would do the same. So when someone is showing, I have the Bhagavad Gita by Grebenshchikov, everybody else would follow. And it's good. But for us, we have Bhagavad Gita by Srila Prabhupada. Not everybody is ready to accept Srila Prabhupada nowadays. There are some funny things. Like there is a teaching and there is the byproduct of teaching. So the teaching they don't accept, by the product of teaching is okay. They say, give me some kirtan and prasadam, I will take it, but your philosophy is not as good. Your people are good. At least we will spread some good products. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.